The ruins of Copan include dozens of elaborately carved stone statues, or stelae, depicting Copan's semi-divine rulers. These larger-than-life figures, covered with hieroglyphic writings, provide an intriguing account of how ancient cultures revered the heavens.
Copan is a place where even the archaeologists agree that the celestial realm was built on Earth in order to show as above, so below. And in Copan, we have that in-between level right there laid out in this amazing archaeological structure.
October 2019. Ancient astronaut theorist Georgios Tsoukalos travels to Copan to meet up with renowned Mayan archaeologist David Sanat, who has been involved in the excavation of the site for more than 3 decades.
David, great pleasure to meet you.
Well, I've been looking forward to this. I'm sure you have a lot of things you want to see.
Yes, I do. So, David, what are we looking at here?
Well, this is the Great Plaza. It's over 100 meters larger than a football field. And it's the southern portion of the Great Plaza where the majority of the great standing stone giants that you'll come to see are located.
Before examining Copan's stone giants up close, Giorgio has been invited to explore the underground tunnels beneath Temple 16.
Watch your step and watch your head. It's low.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, look at this corbelled ceiling. That's unbelievable.
It was here that archaeologists discovered that the structure, believed to have been built in 776 AD, completely encased an older temple called Rosalia.
Giorgio will find Rosalia Temple especially interesting because you'll be able to see some of these stucco figures right close up, and those images are going to, I believe, absolutely astound him. Look at that.
This is extraordinary. I mean, that to me, it looks like a helmet and a guy with a regulator or a microphone in front of his mouth. Incredible.
It's interpreted as an ancestor figure.
I see an astronaut in a helmet, you know, rendered by someone who has no concept what an astronaut is. No, this is truly extraordinary. The Rosalia Temple is one of countless examples where archaeologists themselves are saying this temple was dedicated in honor of the so-called celestial gods, the celestial beings. Well, the archaeologists are already speaking my language. The only thing they have to change is change celestial being to extraterrestrials.
On the grounds at Copan are 15 of what are called stelae. The most well-known of these were built during the 36-year reign of ruler Washaklahu Uba Kawil, better known by the nickname 18 Rabbit.
This is the first time I'm standing next to one of these. Absolutely incredible. What do the glyphs say about this particular statue or stela here?
This is all a representation of the 13th ruler, who we have nicknamed 18 Rabbit, and they show him taking on the persona of the high god of Copan, Chanteahau, who was a sky god, the supreme being. And the motifs on his headdress and other attributes show that he is a sky deity.
This is amazing to me because here we have not only a statue depicting something, which is a picture, a carved picture, but on the sides we have writing, glyphs carved, that speak of a sky deity.
Few sites on Earth are as majestic or as treacherous as the jagged region of Brittany located on the northwest coastline of France. Here can be found the legendary Carnac stones. a collection of over 3,000 massive rocks, arranged in rows and other shapes, and spreading across more than 2 miles of French countryside.
You're talking thousands of stones that are aligned in straight rows, aligned in circles, aligned in squares and rectangles. Why are people doing this? Why are they putting so much time and energy into something? And the short answer, I believe, is that we really don't know.
According to local legend, the megaliths were originally invading Roman soldiers, turned to stone by Merlin the magician. But if it wasn't magic that created this forest of stones, who or what did?
Modern archaeologists would say that people who were one step removed from cavemen were quarrying these giant stones, some of them weighing 100, 200 tons, even up to 350 tons, and then somehow moving them into place. When you first look at the stones here at Carnac, they seem to be in haphazard shapes. But on closer examination, we can see that most of the stones have been cut on one side or another. And in fact, these granite megaliths are magnetized with the earth, and nearly all of them come to a point.
Stone magnets? Is it possible that these stones were really cut and positioned in such a way as to create some sort of geomagnetic field? But why?
Carnac as a place is highly charged with energy. As you walk down these stone corridors, you can feel this charge. Many tourists who come here also like to touch the stones and feel the energy coming off of them. And the people who built Carnac must have been highly knowledgeable of the Earth's energy fields.
According to a concept known as the world grid theory, certain places on our planet contain higher magnetic forces than others.
An interesting coincidence for all the megalithic structures we have around the Earth is that they're placed at specific points that could be harnessing an ancient world energy grid.
There are certain spots around the world which have traditionally been sacred, hallowed, vortexes, energy feels different there.
The ancient stone monuments were built to harness that force and that potential to create a funnel-like vortex.
When we look at things like the Giza pyramids or Machu Picchu or Baalbek in Lebanon, all of these are placed at specific geocoded locations which relate to this world energy grid.
Could Carnac be one of these locations? And might the combination of geomagnetic properties and the unique shapes of the stones themselves have allowed ancient builders to actually manipulate gravity? If so, where did this knowledge come from? And what ultimate purpose did it serve?
It wasn't until we were able to see these stones from above in a helicopter that we realized that Carnac was meant to be seen from the sky above us.
And that is one of only 3 things that you can see from outer space. It's Nazca, Great Wall in China, and Carnac.
Were they meant to be seen by people in the sky? And who could have been flying at that time other than extraterrestrials?
At one end of the Carnac alignment, aerial researchers identified a stone circle, similar to the one found at Stonehenge. At the other end, investigators on the ground discovered a rectangle of stones, one that had been buried for centuries. Both groupings appeared precisely placed to predict both the summer and the winter solstice. And when even more closely examined from above, the solstice points and the alignment of Carnac's many rows of stones reveal yet another geometric phenomenon, the shape of a Pythagorean, or right triangle, covering many square miles. But how could the builders of Carnac have had knowledge of a sophisticated mathematical theorem approximately 2,000 years before its discovery by the Greek mathematician Pythagoras?
These conclusions about the Pythagorean theorem doesn't come from me. It actually comes from quite advanced mathematicians who have looked at these alignments and made the calculations. We're talking Stone Age time. And they knew about a squared plus b squared equals c squared. They knew about it, yes. But why? Who told them this? At the time, extraterrestrials told our ancestors, put this stone here, put this stone there, with the idea that a future generation would have to stumble across this mathematical riddle that somebody would say, hold on a second, this was erected during the Stone Age, yet here we have advanced mathematics. How is this possible?
Now these extraterrestrials, they asked themselves, how could we give them a sign? And there was a suggestion made. In French Brittany, kilometers of stone lines in a form of a triangle, gigantic triangle. So we have the sign, we have the information, but nobody looks at it. It's time to change our attitude to these things.
I think that these stones are transmitting energy that extraterrestrials or others in airships could pick up this energy like a GPS system or some kind of airport beacon and use it for navigating the entire planet.
Located more than 500 miles away from the crowded streets of Istanbul, Şanlıurfa in southeastern Turkey. There, in 1994, on a dusty hilltop, a local shepherd noticed the tip of a stone sticking out of his field. He began to dig, eventually unearthing a 19-foot pillar. Its edges were precise, and rising from its center was a relief carving of a strange animal. Upon closer examination, it appeared that the finely chiseled stone had been fashioned by talented stonemasons, working with advanced tools. When word of the discovery reached the scientific community, one fact became obvious. A Kurdish shepherd had stumbled upon what is perhaps the most astonishing archaeological discovery in modern times, a site known as Gobekli Tepe.
For 13 years, a German archaeology team has been meticulously going into a hill, and they have been doing carbon dating as deep as they go. It has taken them 13 years to uncover only 5% of a gigantic civilization. They know what's under the ground. Circles upon circles upon circles, perfect circles in stone. And rising up out of those stone circles are huge sculpted columns, 19 feet high, 15 tons per column.
Test results have supported the idea that Gobekli Tepe is nearly 12,000 years old, almost 7,000 years older than Mesopotamia's Fertile Crescent, long heralded as the cradle of civilization.
In Gobekli Tepe, the oldest advanced site now on our planet. We know of no other site that is this advanced. It has now doubled the history of humanity.
And right there is this gigantic site with huge megalithic circular structures. It just stands there, a mystery, asking us to go figure, how was this done? What's the background to this? We don't know who made them. They just come out of the darkness of the last ice age, where we know nothing, and enter the stage of history already fully formed. And to my mind, this is indicative of a major forgotten episode in human history.
Curiously, after 13 years of digging, archaeologists investigating the ancient site have failed to recover a single stone-cutting tool, nor have they found any agricultural implements.
How in the world can you contemplate 19-foot tall, perfectly sculpted columns that are 11 to 12,000 years old and no tools?
The mystery of Gobekli Tepe is further compounded by the ancient stone carvings found throughout the site. They depict creatures like wild boars and geese.
We see various types of creatures, different animals, birds, insects, and even abstract human forms that seem to come together to create this very weird menagerie which has totally baffled the archaeologists who have uncovered this site. Now, what they represent is a matter of speculation, but it's my intuition that they may even represent an ark in stone.
Located less than 350 miles from Mount Ararat, the site many biblical scholars believe to be the resting place of Noah's Ark, the animal carvings of Gobekli Tepe suggest a time in the region's history when the indigenous animal population may have been of a totally different origin. But do these carvings actually provide historical proof of the Great Flood that was described in the Bible?
Archaeologists are aware that there are more than 2,000 myths of a great flood which destroyed an earlier civilization.
Some researchers theorize that the events of a cataclysmic flood and a story similar to that told of Noah's Ark was recorded on the stone pillars of Gobekli Tepe. If true, that would push the date of the Great Flood back to the end of the last ice age, far earlier than the biblical period.
There is evidence that this may have ended quite catastrophically. There was a lot of things happening, a lot of migrations, possibly waters rising up very quickly, a lot of rapid changes in lifestyles.
But another, perhaps even more profound question remains. Who built Gobekli Tepe? For what purpose? And how did such an ancient site remain in nearly pristine condition for more than 10,000 years?
In the case of Gobekli Tepe, we find that the site was carefully placed underneath sand. This site was buried. It appears as if somehow the usage of Gobekli Tepe was no longer there, and that people moved on, but had such a reverence to this important site that rather than destroy it, they put it to peace by burying it.
On the northwest coast of France, just south of Brittany, lies one of the most important prehistoric sites in Europe. At the seaside village of Carnac, over 3,000 megalithic stones are placed in rows over 2 miles long. The Carnac stones were hewn from local rock formations and erected between 4,500 to 2,500 BC, at the end of the Stone Age. They are the largest collection of standing stones in the world.
Archaeologists are baffled by the many megaliths at Carnac here. It's clearly a massive construction project with blocks of granite weighing 50 to 100 to even up to 350 tons. Legends here say that giants built Carnac, but you have to wonder, what is the real purpose of these giant megaliths, and why would prehistoric people have moved all of these massive stones and placed them in the many alignments here at Carnac.
Thousands of large stones have been arranged in very interesting patterns. They're arranged in intersecting lines that form triangles that could only be visible from above the earth. These arrangements of stones may have been a way of communicating with extraterrestrial beings.
The ancient Greek poet Pindar spoke of a mystical land called Hyperborea, far to the north, where the sun shined 24 hours a day. Legends claim that Apollo visited Hyperborea, traveling in his chariot of fire every 20 years.
Apollo would tell to the Greeks, okay, I've got to go see some other people. I've got to go and teach them. And they're like, well, where are you off to? And he's like, well, I'm actually going to a place that's beyond where the north wind comes. It's the land of the Hyperboreans.
Although mainstream archaeologists speculate that the Carnac stones are most likely tomb markers, ancient astronaut theorists believe these stones are intentionally laid out in a unique geometric formation.
Many speculations existed since centuries. And only a few years ago, in France, they started to photograph this whole French Brittany by helicopters. And when they put the pictures together, of a sudden someone realized, hey, this is not coincidence. The distances of the lines are always the same, 2,860 meters, or exactly the half of 2,860 meters. The angles are always the same. It's Pythagorean triangles. It's all a gigantic geometrical pattern from Stone Age, which is impossible. Our Stone Age people had no idea of Pythagoras triangles. Pythagoras was about 420 BC.
Even though the geometric arrangement of the Carnac stones predates the Pythagorean theorem by more than 2,000 years, one question remains. Why were the stones arranged in such a precise pattern?
The Carnac stones are one of the few things on the planet that can actually be seen from space. And they're a perfect marker for any kind of aerial vehicle looking down on the Earth. Many of the tourists who come here to Carnac claim that they can actually feel the energy emanating from these granite megaliths. How did these ancient people know about this energy? And is it possible that they were able to use this energy to even move and erect these giant stones?
I am of the opinion that they were made on purpose. The extraterrestrials told our ancestors, do this and this. It's not the extraterrestrials who made the stone lines, it's the humans who made it, but by the order of the extraterrestrials.
But were the Carnac stones a signpost for an ancient astronaut called Apollo as he flew his spacecraft high above the land?
If the Greek god Apollo was really some kind of ancient astronaut, it's possible that the stones here at Carnac were a directional finder pointing the way to the far north, to the Hyperborea of the ancient gods.